Got me on A and B, Bill?
Yeah, gotcha.
Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi interview, take one, marker.
Hi, my name is Reza Pahlavi. I've been an advocate for democracy, secular democracy in Iran and human rights. I've been fighting for the cause of liberation of Iran for 44 years, and I've dedicated my life towards that end.
If you were to tell your life story in 60 seconds.
Well, you're born into a royal family. You are the firstborn, therefore the first in line for succession. You've been prepped and groomed to assume that role one day, and then all of a sudden a life-changing event happens where the continuity is broken, a revolution happens, you now find yourself out of the country in exile, so it's a completely different set of circumstances. It's almost like some cataclysmic event pushes you out of an orbit, and now you have to find a completely different path. It's a game changer in that sense. What you were supposed to be doing and what you were expected to do is now completely different.
For anyone who might not know, how would you have described who your father was?
Well, my father was the king of Iran. He came into power right after his father abdicated. That was during the Second World War, towards the end of the Second World War. And he assumes the role of monarch at age 23, 1943 or 4, I think it was, roughly. And he was, therefore, the king of a nation that was moving towards becoming modernized from a very traditional backward society with very little education, what have you. And, it was just the function at the time that he played as being the monarch of that country and the king of Persia or Iran.
Describe your father's legacy. What it was he did in those 37 years that you were going to inherit and shepherd for the next 37 years.
Well, putting Iran from a very underdeveloped society that was kind of very traditional to now fully engage in development, modernity, progress, liberalizing society, and so all of the social aspects of change in life, the situation that women had in Iran, which was unparalleled in the rest of the Middle East. For all those reasons, Iran was on track to be a very dynamic, progressive society. If the revolution had not happened, Iran should have been today the South Korea of the Middle East. Instead of, we have become North Korea, not because the people have changed, but because the system had changed. So we were in that direction, and instead now we are completely going back. So I think that's the quickest way that I can say where he was taking Iran, and we should have been now.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your experience of the pressure as a young man?
Well, I would say that at a very young age, by that I mean when you're like 7, 8 years old, around that time, I was already sensing that there's something in terms of people's perception or expectation that is different when it comes to myself. I mean, you're born in a royal family, you're the first child, therefore heir to the throne, and so I'm talking about 1967 when the official coronation ceremony of my father took place. My father started in 1943. It was not until 1967 that he actually had that ceremony. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the first time that I actually realized what it is that I'm supposed to be doing as my role is as we were returning in the whole process of carriages coming from the Golestan Palace where the ceremony took place. And, I was accustomed to the fact that my father and my mother would be cheered, when they would go in the streets and there would be a public event. But then I noticed that people are actually looking at me and are showing me all that emotion and all that support. And I said, okay, there's something special here. And so from the very young age, it instills in you the fact that, there's an expectation and there's a duty to perform, whatever that performance might be. And you find that later on as you get educated, as you participate in various ceremonies and what have you. But at the same time, as a young kid, you have to grow, you have to go to school, you have to get educated, you have your friends. So how do you balance the public figure aspect with, having a kid's life? And in a culture, in a society which is not as modern or as, open-minded as we are these days, I'm talking about like more than 50 years ago, half a century ago, that balance between what's private life or normal life versus public life and what is expected, especially at a young age, is much, more complicated than I can explain. But you don't realize it that early. You just maybe feel a little bit more like when you have to perform at the end of the school year, some kind of a school, show or performance, and you prepare for the role. You go on stage, and on stage you have an audience, and they expect you to perform, and so therefore you have to perform.
How about a quick summation of what your role in the country as crown prince was for the first 17 and a half years?
Many official duties in terms of, for instance, inaugurating, visiting with factory workers, awarding prizes to them, showing up for a sport event here and there, visiting, schools or orphanages and things of that nature, which was really, the crown prince function was really not as prevailing, but it was part of the things that I was doing in terms of official capacities. A couple of official ceremonies, aside from the coronation, was the 2500 years celebration of Iran's history in Persepolis, which was a big event, and also the 50th anniversary of the Pahlavi dynasty, which was in Tehran in the mid-70s. Later on, in fact, I had asked my father if he would allow me to get more directly involved with sports in Iran. And in fact, there was an entire plan for me to, upon my return from my Air Force training in the U.S. to Iran, to get more active in that field and bring our sport facilities and complexes in Iran to a point that we can have far more athletic, programs for schools, for universities, and really boost the entire infrastructure for sports. Being a sportsman myself, I love to play soccer. That's what I played during my entire childhood. So I was very much interested to be able to do that while I'm still in the capacity of the crown prince at the time upon my return. Of course, that didn't pan out, obviously, as a result of the revolution.